through Sniffles' head without cutting his brain. These frames. Giggles' buck teeth become gapped. The axe cuts down far enough to take out her teeth, yet her skull still has all of her teeth inside it. The axe somehow cuts through Giggles' body without cutting the optic nerve. The car is undamaged from this. Sniffles and Giggles' corpses are no longer in the car. The car is now much smaller than before. Well, that was a late reaction. Flaky is still able to move her feet despite the muscles of them being burnt off. Half of Flaky's foot disappeared despite the lava not reaching high enough to burn them. The top half of Flaky's body doesn't bleed. The car doesn't melt from the lava. The car falls over for no reason. This part is probably going to get some serious lawsuit after this. The thumbnail spoils the pain Toothy goes through. How Toothy got all these injuries is never explained. Those eye assets are not properly bound ones like in every other instances that I pretty much ever. Toothy's head is unusually circular rather than ocular. The vernige's placement is very inconsistent related to the bed. Mime's cheeks escape the bound of his makeup. Wait, what? Mime's ears are flipped the wrong way, causing his ears to abruptly end. There is no way that death pen is that powerful to draw the bandage in that distance. Also, that death pen is either rotating or facing the wrong way because it should be blowing the bandage away and not sucking it in. The outline of the bandage stops abruptly, making it look like it stops at the base of his body rather than his legs. How strong must those bandages be for Toothy's leg to snap before the bandages? Toothy's leg bends backwards after it snaps in half. The outline of Toothy's ear bandages stops abruptly. Mime's eyebrows escape the bound of his head. Toothy screams so hard his mouth comes out of the bandages. I mean, why would you think something different would happen the second time? The bandage teleports inside of the fan after it's turned on. The blood splattered on the bed disappears between shots. For a single frame, Toothy's pupil is visible underneath his closed eye. Toothy's ears disappear. The fan is suddenly large enough to fit Toothy's entire body in. The fan is able to suck Toothy in whole despite the clutch being in the way. No pieces of his feet or legs are shown flying out the fan. No organs either. Different blood splatters have different hues in the same shot. I know Lumpy is an A-class idiot, but why does he wear clothes that blend into his skin? In fact, why does he wear clothes at all? No one else does. Lumpy's light skin tone is only shown in his arms and not his upper body. Everything that was on the kitchen desk disappears in the later shot. Nudity jokes. For a few frames, Giggles has a bow under a Girl Scout hat. Giggles' expression instantaneously changes from mild concern to extreme horror. Giggles' eyeball somehow remains intact after being grounded by an egg beater which cut out her optic nerve. Giggles appears out of nowhere. Sniffles, smart guy, doesn't understand how the physics of cold surfaces work. Sniffles' snout becomes significantly shorter after his tongue sticks to the ground.
Oh, I got her through the door. No way. Oh my god, I got her through the door.
Much shorter than in many other appearances.
That bug is apparently fixed, by the way.
It then just as suddenly reappears. Lumpy doesn't really have a significant enough role to warrant having a featuring role in this episode. The automatic doors shut even though Lumpy and Lofty are in base of the doors. There is no distinction between the ground and the sky. A third stake appears in Shifty's hand between shots. Lifty's stake turns into ribs between shots. Who put genuine cartoon physics in my Happy Tree Friends episode? Lifty gets slingshotted back even though he wasn't even carrying the sausages. The trees are still drawn with a pseudo motion blur effect even after the camera stops moving. The design of the door changes between shots. The shadows casted on and by the building disappear between shots. Shifty is grinded in the meat grinder tail first, yet the first sausage to come out contains his eyes. Also, his eye goes through the meat grinder completely undamaged. Also, Shifty is apparently made of green meat. This frame, Lifty's leg disconnects from his body. The ham slicer starts without being turned on. And no, the cleaver didn't hit the button. It's nowhere near the ham slicer, and it would have broken the button anyway if it did somehow land on it. Intersecting shadows cause a spot of darker shadow. eye somehow isn't chewed up after that. Also, cannibalism. The remaster of this episode uses Season 2 style intro instead of Season 1. Some older versions of this episode have Cuddles' arm disconnected from his body. I can't actually find a video of it, so you're gonna have to tell what this is. How? Nutty Shadow doesn't cover his markings, hands, entire body, and pretty much everything that's on his right side. Also, his eyes aren't visible. The lollipop on Nutty's face disappears. Nutty's lazy eye is on his left eye in this shot. The two lollipops on Nutty's faces swap sides. Nutty shouldn't have been able to enter the beehive from that angle with the direction he was going. Nutty's face can't be seen through the hole of the beehive. Part of the blood disappears a frame late. I know HTF likes to exaggerate how much damage everyday objects can do to you, but this is a little excessive, don't you think? Cuddles' brain extends past his mouth. Two differing hues of blood in the same shot. Cuddles' hair disappears despite not getting sliced anywhere near it. Splendid is flipped in the intro. Five-fingered hand. How is this guy's glasses even staying up? Bear trap on Lumpy's antler doesn't appear until the next shot. There are 9 bear traps on the floor in this shot, yet we only see Splendid throw 3 before they're all gone. Missing wings. Twice. Right. The bear trap activates without any pressure being applied to it. The ground is too flat to be clamped by the bear trap. The ball doesn't pop or begin to deflate after being clamped by the bear trap. No eye instead of just a pupil. The outline of the nose changes colors from hot pink to black. Two different hues of blood in the same shot. Bear trap appears out of nowhere. It instantaneously changes from afternoon to early evening without any transition. Lumpy's head is somehow heavy enough to not float towards the
Oh my god. Ah, hell nah.
The single frame, you can see a line with no hook or eye. The thumbnail spoils Stickles' death. This bowling alley contains a fifth row of pinballs and there is 15 pinballs in 10. Multiple times there is a pro bowler who's trying to go for a perfect score, just getting 9 hits.
I'm waiting. I really want to give away these. It's epic, dude. Come on.
In an old version of the YouTube upload, the audio for the episode restarts with the hand to get connected to the bottle.
Oh, you again.
No optic nerve is visibly connected to the nerve. It is very unlikely that it was such a way as to either on his eye or in his socket. The bottle destroyed is. How? A cliff materializes behind Kurumama in the shot. The pilot circle sends Kurumama to an end in the shot. The Kurumama's
A rare and an epic.
Missing eyelashes. Petunia's stomach popped out from her hand. She's a friend. There are visible tears in Lumpy's body. Lumpy's torso is the same color as the rest of the body. Lumpy has a brutal spot without letting the inflammation out of his hand. Lumpy has massive hole finance. Lumpy's short, sympathetic. Her mama changes the direction of facing instantaneously to the dog. Quiet. Her mama disappears in the dog. His friend treats Lumpy's form without an outline, unlike everything else in the foreground. Lumpy is visibly shielding the fire. Mickey's head slips into a sleeping bag. Cuddles' mouth repeatedly escapes the hand of his head. Cuddles' arm isn't attached to his body. Lippy's bear has two crests on it. Lippy sits on nothing. Lippy blinks into frame in one frame. Cuddles' intestines are free of Cuddles' heart is located next to his intestines when it should be well above it.
2
Lippy's
cents.
left pupil is slightly cut off and his right pupil is his arm. There's no factor in particular in those filtrum is especially bad because in the last episode it did have a filtrum. Cuddles' nose is left on his face despite his face being entirely slashed off. Macy doesn't think it's a good idea to run away at this point. This was the bag issue of the This is the only season and the final episode is a unique intro. The version of season 6 don't have a unique intro at all. The finale block goes in front of the intro for active destruction. The boss isn't present until the frame after the main begins. Cuddles is shown as the back row of the boss in the first shot, and then is shown to be in the second to back row for the rest of the episode. Literally none of these changes will be done. No wonder you guys get murdered every episode. That's not really that much. Junior's mouth is facing back. Most teams besides the last row or other characters are visible in the show. Cuddles' arms and hands duplicate other being sliced in half. Cuddles' hand has a ball pattern, never seen on any character at any other point. Mine's teeth are way more than halfway on his makeup. Mine's nose, mouth, makeup, and ears Missing eyelashes. Why is it always Petunia that has her eyelashes go missing? Egan. The outline of Lumpy's tongue is teeth on black when they're blue in every other race. Instead it's pulled from blue black as a frame. In this show, it doesn't animate at all. None of the other characters are visible in the show. Petunia's hair freshener doesn't wrap around her neck properly. Petunia's head marking escapes the back of her head. The puddle of urine on the floor disappears. The mole, Flaky, and Hendy were not seen on the bus until this point. Neither Limpy, Shifty, Flippy, or Pop are shown to be on the bus. And Pop was originally going to be in part 2 instead of Lippy. To be continued. Paul Laller's name is moved from Paul Laller.
What do you think I say for just a minute? I'm getting my back. Just put them on my very good one. Don't touch my cow. Sorry. I'm touching his grandson. So much what he's on his eat. He's the best eat in the house. He's the best eat in the house. Eat.
Wait, I recognize.
A lot of these episode names are just really bad puns. 8 frames per second, allegedly a bug for Freddy Bugs to that. 15 bucks. This happens dozens of times throughout the series, so I'll let them missing head markings. This also happens multiple times. Gables, for some reason, don't have a tail. This is never corrected in the entire history of the show, to the point where the writers would say that the only episode that it's been. I'm not making that up. It's crazy, the only episodes we get there. But outside of Lucky keep up with the black characters, this is the thing in the entire history of the show. Some of the cheats are white. The single phrase Oh wait, no, that's just the sound of Scooby's spine shattering. Jesse's hair disappears after he collides with the tree. And so does his tail. Missing tails also have improved. Missing leg. Puddle's head executes down the other end of the flamethrower, despite the 27 still holding the merry-go-round. Somehow Puddle's ear, eye, and head block isn't shredded by the flamethrower. All four poles of the merry-go-round are intact by the different points of the area. For a simple frame, a different frame of the video is shown. Lumpy's and direction raises around, and was like also happens recently. Most of the morals in Season 1, instead of being some ironic jokes, are just completely irrelevant. For a single frame before Handy makes his annoyed face, a smile can be seen. Also, Handy's eyes are visibly facing different directions. These two sins apply to every episode he features in. Why Handy's arms are never restored between episodes, despite every character getting mutilated at some point, is never explained. Don't even get me started on how Handy does these things as a double empty king. How do you get down so far? The sound of the drill hasn't even off by the time the door is on the floor. Andy is much taller than he is presented in future episodes. There are no ladders leading up to the treehouse. Extendo arm! Return. Andy's upper arm is visibly disconnected from his lower arm. Repeatedly throughout the episode, Andy people change the direction they face. This error also happens many times as well. Except gosh darn it, this happens so many freaking times that by the time I had only gone through 7 episodes, this segment was already a minute long. I'm just gonna give this series 100 sins in total and call that generous enough. Andy on his way to death. Possibly exploded in there. Junior's head disappeared. Sounds of the explosion is audibly delayed. Andy's tool belt disappears for a frame. This frame. Andy seemingly has no ears, and there's no bandaging or anything to indicate they were amputated. But yeah, I can get you don't have hands. Also, that's a that monkey was there, isn't it? No Junior's flower not be reduced to ashes yet. Somehow, Andy sustains no damage from that. There are clearly 2 bounce assets stacked on top of each other. Andy wasn't wearing boots up to this point.
I don't know what kind of legendaries I need. I just need to trade somebody.
Apparently doing the okay Junior survived. Missing space. Turning error. The bush disappears when it's almost there attack disappears. Why Giggle's foot is broken in this episode is never explained. The leg that is broken was removed. Missing tummy patch. We never see this other figure to Giggle again. Crystal gap at the end of Mother Giggle's arm. Mother Giggle's arm shade is colored green. When its wings disappears and holds up Giggles. The apron shrinks too much when it falls off Giggle's head. Blood splattered on Mother Giggles is a different color to blood splattered on the floor. Obliviousness, which is a surprisingly common theme in the series for parental figures. The episode is titled as Antics with a dash in the video, but it's titled as Antics without a dash in the YouTube upload title. Missing line break. The bush disappears when Sniffles appears and does not come back. Who just casually does math problems in their free time? Totally not. Also, I just want to point out that this question is actually being utterly correct. Believe that everyone in Wonder Media is just a huge A bird spontaneously appears as a simple tongue travels down the helm. Baby ants don't look anything like adult ants. Even then, why is the baby ant almost as tall as the mother ant? None of the objects the ants use against Sniffles are present when the ants are first shown. The tunnel leading out the door reads the door texture, which makes it look like there's just a second door there instead of a tunnel at all. These are animations. Why? Anteaters don't have teeth. Even bearing the fact it wasn't there before, how did you even get the electric storing to begin with? Also, the electric store isn't powered by anything. The table gets cut by the electric store, yet it's fixed in the next shot. Also, all the blood's been cleared off the table. And don't try to tell me the ants have cleaned in those 5 seconds between shots. Yes, I counted. The fire visibly animates into the hole despite it seemingly being covered as nothing can be seen inside it. Sniffles' torso is simultaneously blasted away by the explosion and left in flames. There is no way blood could have splattered that far. Duplicated assets. How do you misspell the name of your most successful series, Mondo? Cub is excessively tall in this episode. The safety pin on Cub's diaper changes directions. There is no way the ball travels that far. And even if it did, how did it avoid all the traffic? The stupidity is strong with this one. Pop survives this. The cliff wasn't there earlier. Even then, why did you walk that way when Cub is directly behind you? The wheel somehow falls out of Pop's arm despite being deeply embedded in it. The wheel reappears on Pop's arm for a single frame. That helicopter is too small for anyone to fit in the cockpit. The color of the blood directly from Pop is different colors to the blood everywhere else. Floating blood. The cliff is missing for most of the scene. Recycled assets. Duplicated assets. I'm not kidding, the same copy-paste as simple as 5 instances in this one shot. Tom's body parts are somehow even bigger than Pop's. The quick shot moment in this episode is especially egregious because there is somehow literally no background elements in it. How is that ball not being crushed or popped by now? Also, how did the ball get unstuck from under the stretcher? Okay, how did Pop's hat get out from the stretcher? Verde Montijo, the person who voiced acts Lumpy, isn't credited in this episode. There is a long delay between the Mondo Media splash screen ending and the HTF intro starting. The video title is incorrectly labeled as What Are You Waiting For? The sign turns towards Flaky in this one shot. You bother to animate Flaky blinking, but don't bother to animate it with a shocked expression of a piranha attack. Puddle's cheeks disappear. Piranhas don't natively live in ponds. This frame, the bite marks from the piranhas don't appear until much later. Sea lions don't natively live in ponds either. Flaky, Puddle survives this. Puddle survives this. Whales don't natively live in ponds as well. The arrangement of sweeps on Nutty's face is different from every other appearance he ever makes. Nutty's arm outline stops abruptly. This doesn't rip off any of Nutty's fur. Don't have any candy crunching sounds? Just use gore. The lollipop stick disappears after Nutty drops it. The rest of the candy that flies off Nutty's face disappears through the rest of the episode. The vending machine operates without being plugged into anything. And don't try to tell me this thing is battery powered. The pain. The lighting differs between shots. The spacing between rows of chocolate bars differs between shots too. How strong must the wrapping on the bar be for Nutty's arm to break before it? This frame. Somehow a chocolate bar lands on top of the vending machine despite there being no chance for it to exit the machine. Somehow one of the chocolate bar's wrappers opens in just the right way and that exact bar falls in just the right place in Nutty's mouth without any wrapper in it. Somehow Nutty can pull a full smile despite his mouth being stuffed with the chocolate bar. Nutty's arm isn't connected properly.
This game might cause lag, but so far it's doing well.
All they're doing is rotating in place anyway. Somehow more chocolate bars fall out of the machine despite it being flat on the ground. And even more chocolate bars leak out again from an object that has no exit point from where it's laying. Handy isn't on the featuring list despite having a significant amount of screen time. And what makes this worse is that in the versions of this episode that uses the Season 2 style intro, he is included in the featuring list. Lumpy's steering wheel turns from teal to red and white stripes between shots. If the race is literally about to start, how have Handy or Lifty and Shifty not finished building their carts? Handy's arm knobs aren't visible from here. Lumpy survives this. Shifty's fedora goes missing. Handy's arm knobs are much longer than they should be. Missing arms. The steering wheel was originally in one piece, but now has to be fitted together again. The screen and mouse assets are strangely distorted in this episode. This frame. Also this frame. Handy's intestines are visibly in multiple parts despite no cuts being made to them. The inside of the cart seats change from pink to yellow. Visible gap in the cart seat. Shifty's arm repeatedly disappears. Shifty and Lifty's legs aren't visible from this angle. Lumpy's arms are missing. The incorrect font is used. Yeah, that's totally Lifty and Shifty. Seriously though, how'd you even mess that up? It's not like that in any other version. The three bottles cast the shadow of a single larger bottle. Petunia's eyelashes are missing. The prize teddy bears are missing multiple times throughout the episode. Haha, blind character that does things blind people really shouldn't do, but boy does this look real insensitive at times. Fighting. Exploiting disabled people for money. Wait, but Petunia earlier had 3 boobs. Did she pay more for an extra ball? Petunia's eyelashes disappear again. Petunia's elbows barely connect back to her body. Oh, move out the way, you moron! The way the wall comes down makes it look like Petunia would have been sliced at the chest, but instead she gets sliced in the middle of the head. Petunia's tail is significantly shorter in this shot, and no, it's clear that it did not get cut with the rest of her. The color of the blood on the wall is a different hue to the blood on the floor and Petunia. But in an earlier shot, the Ferris wheel was facing parallel to the stand and not perpendicular. Either that is a giant lever no one can reach, or this is a tiny Ferris wheel meant for people the size of Lego people. The walls of the stand turn blue when before they were purple. Lumpy's antlers now have 2 prongs instead of 3. While antlers do contain some amount of blood, they're not entirely filled with it. Somehow Lumpy's ribs are left fully intact. Also, Lumpy has a sideways head. Also, Lumpy's brain is outside of his skull. Also, Lumpy's antlers are not part of his skull. Lumpy's clothes disappear. Missing space. And another. Disco Bear's leg isn't visible from here. The disco ball isn't attached to anything. Awful sound effect timing. Sliding. This frame. Obviously copy-pasted symbols. Aren't most of the characters in the first season meant to be portrayed as kids? And if Disco Bear comes from the 70s, even if the original release date of this episode in 2000, it would put Disco Bear in his 20s. God. For a single frame, Disco Bear has 4 arms. The hue of blood on Giggles' head differs from the blood on the tree stump. The electric fence is seemingly just one single wall and isn't bending anything. For a single frame, there is a cut section in Petunia's eye. A second electric fence repeatedly appears and disappears. A teacup can be seen inside of Petunia's eye socket. For a single frame, one of Petunia's ribs is mostly cut off. Petunia's hand and feet bones protrude out from her body. This is the most excessive amount of squash and stretch I have ever seen. The only piece of skin ripped off Petunia that was on the fence is on the only part of the fence that's covered by the sign. The skin ripped off from Petunia is left unsinged. Electric shocks can't directly kill someone after the instant of the shock. How do you get that sweaty from doing 3 short dances? Also, gross. Toothy's hair wasn't removed in the intro despite this episode marking the removal of said hair. This happens for the rest of his appearances in this season. Episode title says treasure these idle moments, but video title says treasure those idle moments. Toothy is flipped in the intro. Toothy has normal buck teeth. This happens a lot also. The swing stays suspended in the air in order to avoid Toothy for over 6 seconds. Toy shovel disappears between shots.
No.
I can only assume that Turnstile converted a meter of ground below Sniffles in the stands because there was no way that sandpit was deep enough to begin with. Somehow this slide can carry the weight of this massive boulder. Pop isn't around to hit this time. I'm not even gonna lie about the Turnstile will not only got Lumpy's car without breaking the window, but also managed to strap in the seatbelt. Missing space. Child labor. Cobb is somehow light enough to not capsize the lawnmower. Despite the fact Cobb can barely stay on the floor, he turns the lawnmower no problem. Cobb's safety pin switches directions. The ejection chute and the lawnmower changes sides repeatedly. The same voice clip is used back to back. To back. The angle of this shot makes it look like Cobb would have avoided the wreck. The side of Cobb's lamp is smoking pipe changes the shape of the shot. Cobb drops his pipe here, but then hands it in a later shot without taking it up at any point. Cobb's pipe subsequently disappears. Parts of the orange bottle are colored blue. Sure, the green bottle also does it, but if given in the right light, it can look blue. The orange bottle, though, no way. This bottle has no grass to point it. None of these shattered bottles have any culture to them. Same essay is reused 6 times in the same frame. Also, why are there syringes lying on the floor? So tell me Pop likes a dope from time to time. This causes no damage to the lawnmower. Pop walks right from the hammer, but the blast shard hit Cobb from the other side. This bottle only merely impales Cobb's body, while an identical looking bottle managed to rip right through his head. of threat at all. Though, I mean, Cub doesn't have a visible skull, so... The bottle manages to slice halfway through Cub's eye socket without slicing any of his eyeball. A glass shard rips off part of Cub's hand, yet it's back in the later shot. Pop sure has some impeccable fathering skills, doesn't he? And don't even get started with the storyboarded ending. This episode's title uses the same pun used in an earlier episode. Justin Bieber. Also, while we're on the subject, can we just add 10 sins for all the terrible jokes used in these blurb episodes, even though there's only 2 of them? Yeah? Yeah, that sounds good. Toothy is wearing the surgical mask front as it isn't covering his nose. This frame. One of the straps on Toothy's surgical mask is missing. A third ear appears out of Toothy's head. The head mirror is now at the top of the headband instead of in the middle. An ear sprouts out of Toothy's hand. This frame. Nutty's right gum snaps.
There are
off his right.
visible gaps between these
Nutty's left
stubs.
ear snaps off his head. This frame. Toothy's ear is detached from his head again. In 3 instances, Toothy's arm is not attached to his body, nor is he holding the drill. The battery somehow doesn't fall out of the drill. Nutty's candy apple isn't up on his head. Man, they really suit Toothy's arm to prevent this episode's great stage. The hole carved in Nutty's mouth doesn't bleed. Nutty survives this. And geez, I know HDF likes to exaggerate how much damage some of these things do, but how does someone pull half of their jaw out with a string tied to one of their teeth? Also, this doesn't pull out the rotting tooth right away. The chair Toothy drilled a hole through has magically repaired itself. Nutty and the chair are visibly zoomed out between shots, but the background isn't. The thumbnail for this episode spoils his death. The wonky perspective of this shot makes it look like Flippy is twice the size of everyone. The excitement of outdoor games is apparently able to instantly cure anxiety. I question as to why Toothy's hand repeatedly flips. Either Toothy is about to fall over, or his body is being way ahead of his head. Flippy's feet are facing backwards. This woodpecker uses really poorly drawn Pac-Man people. No other trees are visible from this angle. Okay, how old is Flippy meant to be in these episodes? Because unlike Disco Bear or Lumpy, Flippy's voice isn't deep at all, yet he's old enough to be a war veteran. Speaking of Flippy's voice, I understand Flippy and Flixie may be separate consciousnesses in one mind, but how does one body have two completely opposing voices? Flippy's pupils are visibly cut off. Flippy's dog tag is missing. I know this is a first episode kind of problem, but Flippy's eyes appear normal when he's flipped out. If you don't want to get caught, then stop giggling. Toothy's tail straight and shot. Transparency per symbol instead of full object. Flippy is never shown to be able to do this again. Toothy goes from smiling to frowning, to smiling again before actually frowning. Toothy's arm is slightly detached from his body. Toothy's arms crisscross unnaturally. Toothy's arms are layered behind his neck. Flaky's arms aren't visible, nor are her quills. Petunia's eyelashes are missing. The color of the leaves are eye drops directly from the color of Toothy's fur and tail. Blood splatters before Petunia even fully falls into the pit. Petunia survives this. Petunia's hand not only doesn't bleed, but also doesn't have any blood in it already. Petunia lifts up her right arm, but when Flippy gives us a grenade, it switches to her left arm. This episode was never remastered. Quando got homophoned. Similarly to Handy, Russell's missing eye, hands, and legs stay missing between every episode. I don't care what you say about the color of the ground and sky being different every other episode, but if the water is that red, then something must be off. Blatantly obvious stacking of symbols. To a single frame, Russell in the bucket disappears. His legs take an extra second to come back up. The fishing line doesn't appear until the next shot. How is the fishing line staying up without being held? Pufferfish are only able to inflate under the water, as they do so by inhaling the water. The fishing line should have been pulled away by whatever was pulling it. Russell survives this. A grey eye outline appears after the pufferfish impales Russell's neck. Russell's neck skin abruptly cuts off. Once again, I draw the line at a piece of string being able to cut off someone's hand. The line is able to stay in the air despite the other end falling into the sea below the dock. Don't tell me Russell survived that. The thumbnail spoils the pain Flaky goes through. Missing space. Separate missing space. In the original, Flaky is layered above the text, but in the remaster, she's layered behind it. For a single frame, Sniffles' pocket jumps to the other side of his body. Glow in the dark eyes cliche. But also, why did their teeth and gums glow? Sniffles' snout faces through the curve. Sniffles' mouth is facing the wrong way. Sniffles' pocket doesn't move with his body. The hand changes from lefty to righty. It also goes from 3 fingers plus a thumb to 4 fingers plus a thumb. The hand is able to cut through Sniffles' head without cutting his brain. He's brain. Giggles' buck cheek becomes gapped. The axe cuts down far enough to take out her teeth, yet her skull still has all of her teeth inside it. The axe somehow cuts through Giggles' body without cutting the optic nerve. The car is undamaged from this. Sniffles and Giggles' corpses are no longer in the car. The car is now much smaller than before. Well, that was a late reaction. Flaky is still able to move her feet despite the muscles of them being burnt off. Half of Flaky's clothes disappear despite the lava not reaching high enough to burn them. The top half of Flaky's body doesn't bleed. The car doesn't melt from the lava. The car falls over for no reason. This part is probably going to get some serious more to after this. The thumbnail spoils the pain Toothy goes through. How Toothy got all these injuries is never explained. Those eye assets are not properly bound ones like in every other instances of eyes pretty much ever. Toothy's head is unusually circular rather than ocular. The furniture's placement is very inconsistent related to the bed. Mime's cheeks escape the bound of his makeup. Wait, what? Mime's ears are flipped the wrong way, causing his ears to abruptly end. There is no way a death fan is that powerful to draw the bandage in at that distance. Also, that death fan is either rotating or facing the wrong way because it should be blowing the bandage away and not sucking it in. The outline of the bandage stops abruptly, making it look like it stops at the base of his body rather than his leg. How strong must those bandages be for Toothy's leg to snap before the bandages? Toothy's leg bends backwards after it snaps in half. The outline of Toothy's ear bandages stops abruptly. Mime's eyebrows escape the bound of his head. Toothy screams so hard his mouth comes out of the bandages. I mean, why would you think something different would happen the second time? The bandage teleports inside of the fan after it's turned on. The blood splattered on the bed disappears between shots. For a single frame, Toothy's pupil is visible underneath its closed eye. Toothy's ears disappear. The fan is suddenly large enough to fit Toothy's entire body in. The fan is able to suck Toothy in whole despite the clutch being in the way. No pieces of his feet or legs are shown flying out the fan. No organs either. Different blood splatters have different hues in the same shot. I know Lumpy is an A-class idiot, but why does he wear clothes that blend into his skin? In fact, why does he wear clothes at all? No one else does. Lumpy's light skin tone is only shown on his arms and not his upper body. Everything that was on the kitchen desk disappears in a later shot. Nudity jokes. For a few frames, Giggles has a bow under a Girl Scout hat. Giggles' expression instantaneously changes from mild concern to extreme horror. Giggles' eyeball somehow remains intact after being grounded by an egg beater which cut out her optic nerve. Giggles appears out of nowhere. Sniffles, smart guy, doesn't understand how the physics of cold surfaces work. Sniffles' snout becomes significantly shorter after his tongue sticks to the ground. Mitten's cage opens by itself. The rope tied on Sniffles' tail moves up his tail between shots. Sniffles' tongue stops much shorter than in many other appearances. Sniffles' scarf disappears. It then just as suddenly reappears. Lumpy doesn't really have a significant enough role to warrant having a featuring role in this episode. The automatic doors shut even though Lumpy and the sausages are aimed to the doors. There is no distinction between the ground and the sky. A third stake appears in Shifty's hand between shots. Lifty's stake turns into ribs between shots. Who put genuine cartoon physics in my Happy Tree Friends episode? Nifty gets slingshotted back even though he wasn't even carrying the sausages. The trees are still drawn with a pseudo motion blur effect even after the camera stops moving. The design of the door changes between shots. The shadows casted on and by the building disappear between shots. Shifty is grinded in the feet behind his tail first, yet the first sausage to come out contains his eyes. Also his eye goes through the meat grinder completely undamaged. Also Shifty is apparently made of green meat. This breaks. Nifty's leg disconnects from his body. The hand slicer starts without being turned on. And no, the cleaver didn't hit the button. It's nowhere near the hand slicer and it would have broken the button anyway if it didn't somehow like that. These special shadows cause a strong dark shadow. Nifty's eyes somehow is screwed up after that. Also cannibalism. The remaster of this episode is season 2 style in Norway instead of season 1. Some older versions of this episode have other designs disconnected from the body. You can't actually find a video of it, so you can't do that with it. Wow. Many shadows have become from markings, hands, entire body, and pretty much everything that's on his right side. Also, his eyes are visible. The long Poponai face disappears. Nutty's lazy eye is on his left side of his skull. The pseudo repulsed on Nutty's face is both sides. Blood in the same shot. Someone's hair disappears despite not getting sliced anywhere near it. Splendid is flipped in the ink trunk. 5-fingered hand. How is this guy's glasses even staying up? Bear trap on Lumpy's antler doesn't appear until the next shot. There are 9 bear traps on the floor in this shot, yet we only see Splendid throw 3 before they're all gone. Missing wings. Twice. Thrice. The bear trap activates without any pressure being applied to it. The ground is too flat to be clamped by the bear trap like this. The ball doesn't pop or even deflate after being clamped by the bear trap. Cub's ear distorts without being touched by the bear trap. Cub's eye turns into an adult eye instead of just a pupil. The outline of the nose changes colors from hot pink to black. 2 different hues of blood in the same shot. Bear trap appears out of nowhere. It instantaneously changes from afternoon to early evening without any transition. Lumpy's antler loses a prong without there being any cutting present. Russell's hat is somehow heavy enough to not float to the water surface. Russell is somehow able to scream underwater. Sea otters are not able to breathe underwater. This doesn't cause any harm to Russell. Russell is pulled along the seabed for an extensive period of time despite the boat anchoring right on top of him. Quite literally. Electric eels don't natively live in ocean water. Russell doesn't have a body. This is the only time Russell's skeleton shows feet. All future projections show they're amputated. Russell's stubble doesn't get singed to the rest of him, making it look lighter than his skin. Russell's shirt doesn't get shredded or even ripped at all through the coral. Russell's tail also doesn't get scratched in the slightest. Russell has 2 eyelids. Russell's pupil overlaps his eyelid. Blood is seen immediately at the instant of the explosion, even though Russell is deep underwater. Somehow no blood gets mixed in with the seawater. Russell's clothes and body are somehow thrown backwards from the mine explosion. With a single frame, you can see a line with no hook or eye. The thumbnail spoils Sniffles' death. This bowling alley contains a 5th row of pins, meaning this is 15-pin bowling, not 10. Huh? How? 9-pin bowl where the last pin just barely doesn't go down cliche. See, the handy got a guttable first. It's had this happen to him multiple times where he's a pro bowler who's trying to go for a perfect score, because getting 9 tennis 14 pins on 1 throw is still pretty good. Mark, I think this is a good idea, or even worry the potential lethality of it, instead of just holding it in the winning hole like a normal rifle from off camera. Nichols is able to vocalize that being decapitated. that thing is able to come down fast enough to chop off its snout, it should be leaving a dent in the lane at the very least. Sniffles has two sets of teeth. The mole doesn't get cut smashing through Sniffles' glasses. The mole's walking stick and Sniffles' head swap hands when the mole slips with the bloodstain. In an old version of the YouTube episode, the audio for the episode restarts as the hand gets smacked into the bottle. This has since been fixed and only exists in re-uploads. No optic nerve is visibly connected to his eye. It is very unlikely that he was cut in such a way as to not be seen either on his eye or in his socket. The bottle's straw is thick. How? A cliff materializes
Exactly
behind
how?
Pro Mama between shots. The pile of snowballs next to Pro Mama disappears between shots. The hand Pro Mama's club is in also switches between shots. The bottom of the cliff and the sloped land has too sharp of a corner for Pro Mama to continue sliding down it, yet missing eyelashes. Petunia's eye pops out from her hat. This frame. There are visible tears in Lumpy's body. Lumpy's torso turns the same color as the rest of his body. Lumpy's antlers lose a prong without there being any clear cut or snap. Lumpy has a massive hole cut in him. Lumpy's shorts disappear. Pro Mama changes the direction and spacing instantaneously between shots. Twice. Pro Mama disappears between shots. This frame. Tree stump is drawn without an outline unlike everything else in the foreground. Nothing is visibly fueling the fire. Flaky's hand clips through the sleeping bag. Cuddles' mouth repeatedly escapes the band of his head. Cuddles' arm is attached to his body. Flippy's ferret has two crests on it. Flippy sits on nothing. Flippy blinks into frame for one frame. Cuddles' intestines are straighter than they really should be. Cuddles has no ribs. Cuddles' heart is located next to his intestines when it should be well above it. Flippy's left pupil is slightly cut off, and his right pupil slightly escapes his eye. This mouth facet in particular having no filtrum is especially bad because in the last episode it did have a filtrum. Cuddles' nose is left on his face despite his face being entirely slashed off. Flaky doesn't think it's a good idea to run away at this point. The zipper of the bag is shown at first, but then disappears when the bag is picked up. This is the only season whose final episode has a unique intro. And versions with the season 2 intro don't have a unique intro at all. The finale block goes in front of the intro before actually crushing it. The boss isn't present until the frame after the fade-in begins. Cuddles is shown at the back row of the boss in the first shot, and then is shown to be in the second to back row for the rest of the episode. Literally none of these seats have seatbelts. No wonder you guys get murdered every episode. That's not how Toothy sounds like. Petunia's mouth is facing backwards. No seats besides the last row or other characters are visible in the shot. Cuddles' arms and hands duplicate after being sliced in half. Cuddles' hands have paw pads, which is never seen on any character at any other point. Mime's cheeks are way more than halfway off his makeup. Mime's nose, mouth, makeup, and ears shouldn't turn blue and purple along with his face. Sniffles' snout moves from in front of his book to behind his book in shots. Typical Lumpy. Missing eyelashes. Why is it always Petunia that has her eyelashes go missing? P-jokes. The outline of Lumpy's tongue and